Welcome to the Relationship Toolbox, a show about learning the skills of building positive relationships with others. Today we're going to focus on conversations that go nowhere. These are typically repetitive conversations with someone very close to us who knows us well, and they tend to follow requests or complaints that are frequent and, as I said, repetitive. And they seem to lead to feelings of resentment and anger, and also ending with accusations or insults to the other person. They solve nothing, and we end up leaving each other feeling very ugly feelings, basically, that obviously do not go well with the relationship in terms of building that relationship. So today we're going to demonstrate how these get going and what people might do to correct this.
So does this sound familiar to you? Most of us have experienced these conversations that resurface. It's our attempt to solve a problem that hasn't been resolved. And even when you're in the middle of it with a boss or a spouse or partner or a child or a coworker, you're thinking, oh, I've been here before. How many times do we have to keep going through this cycle? And you wonder, is this inevitable? Is this something that you can't get around? Or maybe with the right skill or the right preparation, it could be changed. And that's what we're going to suggest today, because we think with some forethought, you can avoid that conversation that goes nowhere and maybe finally get to a new destination.
Right. This has been demonstrated over the years with research that this can be corrected. However, as you say, it does take forethought, it does take some work, it does take skills. Frequently, when we get caught up in a conversation like one that goes nowhere, it becomes very circular. And we begin to approach this in a way that blames the other party for this. It shows up in ways of, well, if the other person were less this or more that in terms of some particular quality, this wouldn't be happening. So you hear statements like, if only he weren't so selfish or self-centered, we would be able to work this out. Or if only she weren't so emotional. Or she's so much like her mother.
Ooh, ouch.
Or, yeah, that's a real,
Ouch.
you can see how they just degenerates into name calling, and finally someone just saying, oh, you're such a loser with it. That hardly complements a relationship or draws you close to the other person. It just does the opposite of that.
But sometimes we're in such pain because of the repetition of it not ever being resolved, that's where we go. Because it's just like
hopelessness.
You're striking out because it's an expression of your frustration.
Yes, right. So it's understandable, but it is deadly.
So getting somebody else to change is kind of like beating your head against the wall. There's some times when you can change somebody because they're missing something. They either don't understand, or they don't feel it, or there's some obstacle. But most of the time, you've got to do the changing.
Right. You can give people feedback.
Right.
But the ultimate responsibility for changing is with the person himself.
So we don't have control over the other person. We do have control over how we can approach it. And maybe instead of doing it the same way that you've been doing it before, try a new way of approaching it.
Because usually before has been either giving in and saying, oh, this is useless.
Whatever, I don't care,
or
just,
fighting back or paying back.
So, are we ready to try a role play?
Let's try a
role
role
play.
play.
So we're going to try a little role play here between a husband and a wife. And this is a conversation that they've had before, maybe every so few months. And she is complaining about his lack of participation in the household chores. So let's see how it sounds. So she's in the middle of working. It's like, it's really burning me that you just sit here and you don't realize all the work that I do.
Crying out loud.
You don't do anything around here. I am doing everything. I am, you know, you're always out doing things for other people. You're out fixing other people's houses. But do you do anything around here? You know, the toilet's still running and the back door is stuck. Half the time I can't get in. And you promised to paint this room 6 months ago. I mean, I'm just had it.
What are you talking about? Do you ever notice the things that I do around here? You always act as if you're the only one doing anything. I'm sick of that type of thing, as if you're the only one doing something around the house.
Oh, let me think about this. Right, okay. Last week, that's right, you did fix the coffee maker,
right.
And that was really hard. Meanwhile, I'm doing the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping, paying the bills, doing the laundry, taking care of the animals, all while keeping a full-time job, and you're not lifting a finger to do anything around here. You know, you want me to pay attention to what you're doing? What world are you living in? Look, I'm working, and you're sitting on your butt.
Fine. If that's the way you feel, I won't do anything from now on. You can do it all. Maybe then you'll appreciate the things that I do around here.
Oh, you know, I don't understand why you can't be like some of my friends' husbands. There are plenty of men who do work around the house, and Veronica's husband cooks twice a week.
Well, good for him. If he's such a perfect husband, why don't you go marry someone like him? But don't forget that he's got to put up with all your griping and complaining and your moods.
Well, part of the griping and complaining is because I'm the one doing everything, and I'm bringing in most of the money on top of it.
Ah, here we go again. I knew you were going to bring that up. Oh, for gosh sake, every time we talk about something is, and I make more money than you do. Well, the reason you have to make more money is because you spend so much more money. Did you see the last MasterCard bill? And all that stuff
you
was
know what?
yours.
Well, it's because some things make me happy, and this doesn't make me happy. So sometimes I go out and buy things. What of it? I hate this. I don't even know why we're still together.
I don't need this. It's always the same fight. I'm going to Luke's. At least they appreciate me over there.
Fine.
Don't wait up for me.
Ouch. 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 That didn't go So.
Obviously, that didn't go too well in terms of conversation that led to any resolution of anything.
Yeah, because I feel like the motivation for the conversation was, I'm frustrated, I want your help, I want you to notice me of all the stuff that I'm doing here, and please acknowledge me and appreciate me and help. And what happened instead was that the wife pushed the husband away.
Right. So let's go over that sort of step by step again, so we can catch it as it happens with it, and then we can show how to correct that with it. So in the first time round here, when the wife is approaching the husband, she starts out with an accusation.
Yeah, because it's trigger. She's triggered by the fact that she's working and he's sitting, and all of this boils up, and she doesn't think about it. She doesn't take the temperature of the room, doesn't plan. It's just blah.
Right.
And start in where we left off 6 months ago.
Right.
You know? And I'm going to accuse you of being a lazy bum.
Right. And just attacking me. So automatically, if her intent is for me to want to be sensitive to what she's going through, listen to what her needs are, and be more empathic about it, to understand, that's the last way to attempt to do that. It's natural for her to start that way because, as you say, she's just got all this to venom to let go. But it's not going to accomplish what she's really looking for at all.
It's going to defeat her purpose.
So as you say, what she's looking for in there when she gives the accusation, she gives specifics, which is helpful if it were done in the right context. You know, the toilet isn't fixed, it's not painted, and so forth. That's very concrete things to do, which can be helpful. But then she ends it with, you just sit there, and then assumes the motivation that he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that just shuts it off. So, I mean, the natural reaction is, if that's the way you feel, why should I? Okay, so now if we go on to his response, which is, what are you talking about? Do you ever notice all the things I do? There's the defensive stuff coming through.
Right.
That at that point, if the wife were to realize, whoops, you know, I kicked in a lot of defensive
here's
stuff.
a chance where you could shift, you could pivot. But
Exactly.
she didn't.
Right.
She just piled on. But she could say, okay,
Right, there was the clue, there was the information.
help me understand, what is it you do?
Right, right.
I may have missed it.
And
But
no,
it's there's
no
sarcasm. Sarcasm, yeah. Oh, let me tell you. Oh, right, you did one thing
So
last
when she
week.
says, oh, I almost forgot, you
Yeah,
did
you
fix
fixed
the
the
coffee
coffee
maker.
maker, yeah.
I mean, that does not come across as, well, gee, I appreciate this,
You
or,
know, that-
yeah, I guess you
okay.
have done some things.
I've been so busy not, yeah.
I'm even more in defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then her final comment, and you want me to pay more attention to your needs.
You're living in a dream. Yeah.
So it's almost denying his needs to be appreciated for what he thinks he's done, while she's asking for the same thing, to be appreciated. They're both working.
Often that's the people are looking for the same thing, and they're giving something that isn't being appreciated.
They're following their feelings, which takes them in the opposite direction of where they really should be going to solve the problem. So, and you're right, they're both
offering,
looking for the same thing.
Please
with it.
notice me. Please appreciate me.
So then when the husband comes back with the fine, I won't do anything, that's the very opposite again of what she's looking for. Instead of saying, I didn't realize that, what would you like me to help out with? She's turned it into, well, why should I bother to help out with anything? I don't get noticed.
Right.
So I'm not going to do anything. The very opposite of what she's looking for.
I'll prove to you that I do help.
By
Maybe you'll notice
you,
it.
Yeah,
By
and
making you hurt.
Yes, by making you hurt. So you can see why this is a conversation that is going to go nowhere in terms of solving the problem.
Right.
But it's going to leave a lot of hurt, a lot of anger and resentment.
And I'm going to hold other people up who are better than you are.
Yeah, that's a real nasty way of fighting too, to point out some other friend's husband who does a so-called better job, which invited the husband to fight back again out of a defensiveness and say, okay, have your perfect husband, but make sure you let him know how imperfect you are as a wife. Which again is more hurt statements for both of them.
So then she needed to hurt him back.
Right.
By saying, well, just remember that while I'm knocking myself out here, I'm also bringing home the money.
Right. And twice as much.
I know
as
that that's going to get you.
Yes. And so, and he acknowledges that and say, I knew that was coming. So obviously he's used to hearing that and also has heard it before, so that he's sensitive to it. And then he tries to turn it around into an attack on her by saying they only needed that money because she spends so much of it. So then in utter frustration, she's just saying basically, I hate you.
I hate you, I'm done, I don't have anywhere else to go with this argument. And that's her way of saying, I'm fine.
I'm hurt to the core. Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'm just going to give up.
And even beginning to question
why am I in this?
Why am I in this relationship? Yeah, not only why am I trying to discuss this, but why am I in this relationship?
Why do I persist?
So this is really getting deep now in terms of hurt. This can be corrected, but if this were to continue and be repetitive time after time, you could see how it could really do a job on a relationship.
Yeah. So before initiating the conversation, there are a couple of things you could do. You could ask yourself, is this a good time to have this conversation?
Right.
First of all.
There's nothing like trying to open up a conversation on something when someone either is not ready for it or they're trying to concentrate on something else.
Or you have a deadline and you have a small window of time to do something, or if somebody's not feeling well, or if there's a distraction or a crisis, maybe this isn't the best time to talk about it. But if it is, then you can think about what your needs are. What is it that I want to get from having this conversation?
So part of the picking the right time, which is also a sign of respect, is also picking the right time when I am prepared to initiate this conversation.
And in touch with my needs, my feelings, and maybe even understanding what might trigger me to go back to old patterns and to have some defenses against the triggers.
Because that's what I do have control over. I do have control over how I view these things. I do have control even over the intensity of the trigger, with it. I might think differently about it and not be so reactive.
And also have a specific request in mind, not just what I don't want, what do I want?
Correct.
So
And
that's important to have.
That's another important factor that we often, when we are accusing,
and
pick out the
criticizing
negative
and
things.
judging.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, I hate it when. It's like, okay, so what do you want? What do I want?
Right.
Is this a good time? What are my needs? What are my feelings? Am I prepared? What are the triggers I want to avoid? And what is the positive thing that I'm hoping to get out of this?
Right.
And that reframes the whole conversation instead of you.
And the other thing too that we look at is we tend to stay on the surface with the issue. The issue obviously has on the surface is about chores in the house. But there's an underlying series of issues here that are much more to the core of people and what brings people together in a relationship. And that is respect, caring behavior, being understanding, with it being fair. So I hear in these words of complaint and anger, I want you to be fair. I want some help with this thing, and I want appreciation for what I do. And as you mentioned, both of them are asking for that.
Right. But neither is hearing it. They're both, but they're both craving it. Yeah.
So it's important to capture those underlying core needs that people have. We all have that need to be appreciated, to be loved and cared for in a relationship.
Recognized.
So when actions say the opposite to us, then we need to not only identify the action, but say, this is the need that I'm really being triggered by. So another thing that the wife could do in a situation like this is to think for a minute, what do I really want for him as well? Not just for her, but for him. And if her answer to that is, I want to make you aware of how unfair you are, that's hardly a constructive motivation or goal. I want to win my point, show you how wrong you are. Deadly, with it, because few people want to be shown that anyway. I want to show you how right I am, which is another variation of that. Or I want to make you pay for being so insensitive and being so selfish. When the person receiving this senses that, cooperation is gone. In any particular meaningful conversation about the topic and appreciation for the person who's raising the issues, it's gone with that. So we have to do things that are the opposite of that, even though it may seem counterintuitive to our feelings at that. So if my goal is to not only share my feelings and my concerns, my needs with my partner, but also for that person to feel appreciated as well, for him to feel needed, and that a real helpful partner in the relationship, I have much more of a chance to be heard.
It's hard to hold on to that for the other when you're feeling so abused.
It is.
It is. But
yes.
If you can remember that the conversation has gone nowhere in the past, maybe just remembering that failure of the conversation in the past can help you remember these other.
And acknowledging that I might have contributed to that in the way I approached it. So it's not just all black and white situation, that I may have approached it in a way that was disrespectful.
It's
and
really
yet I'm asking
hard.
for respect.
That's really hard because you can know that in your heart of hearts, but to admit it and to say it out loud, it's very vulnerable.
Well, that's why it's so important to pay attention to the feelings. If you just act on the feelings, you're in trouble. But if you say, why am I so angry about him not doing these particular
doing
things.
the dishes, yeah.
And then you think, well, because it seems so unfair.
It's symbolic of assumptions that we're
Yes.
making.
Yes.
You know, the fact that the dishes are never done is symbolic about, you think that it is explaining that they feel a certain way about you.
You give it an interpretation,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where we can go awry.
So,
And then the other question too is, in a relationship such as a husband and wife or a partner, what do I really want for this relationship in working through things like this? Do I want to feel mutual appreciation and gratitude for each other? And then how would that translate into the way I approach it? Do I want us to feel a closeness as we work together on things? And do I want us to feel a commitment to each other? So are my actions and my words, are they contributing to those goals, or are they actually destroying any possibility of those goals being reached?
yeah. Yeah, all right, so once we've reflected on this, you could redo the conversation without attacking, without blaming.
Without the accusations.
And no assumptions.
Right.
Perhaps admitting contributions that you yourself have made in the past, and listening for the other person's point of view. This
Right.
seems to be like a combination of so many things that we've talked about before, the I message, talking from your own point of view and not accusing. Asking for, and saying what is going wrong, explaining why you feel that way, asking for something specific, negotiating, listening for point of view, reframing, and not taking those barbs and hearing the underlying message.
Correct.
So
So her approach might have been something like, there is something I need to talk with you about concerning tasks around the house.
Yeah.
And is this a time I might do that?
Yeah.
With it? Just asking that question shows respect for the other person,
Yeah.
even if they said, no, it's not a good time.
And she might say, I know that we've tried to talk about this in the past and it hasn't worked, but it's really important to me, and I'm going to try to be different, and I'm going to try to be respectful and civil, and this is just so important that I'm going to commit to trying to do it in a different way.
Right. And then the actions following that must show that commitment's being carried out. So if someone says, I'm going to be committed to approaching this thing in a respectful way, and then something goes awry again, and he says something back that really gets her going, if she comes back with an accusation again, there goes that commitment.
Yeah, old pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you got to listen. You really got to listen.
Yeah, whenever anybody goes on the defensive, it's almost a universal signal that we need to do more listening, that what you've talked about in the past is that sense of curiosity. Where is that coming from? What particular need of this other person am I hitting into that causes them to react in this way?
So then we're going to make a specific request and maybe negotiate. I think we should try it.
Okay.
Let's try it again in a different way.
Let's try to do it again.
All right. So we'll say that I've just finished the dishes. Okay.
Okay.
Let me say.
All right.
Tom, after you've finished your favorite program or your article, I wanted to talk to you about something, if it would be okay when you're done.
Well, all right. It needs to be at this time?
No, we can talk about it later.
Well, I guess this is okay. All right.
Can you
All right.
can you go back to that?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just kind of fuming again because I've just finished, all the dishes from the dinner, and I shopped for it, I cooked for it, I made it, I've cleaned up, I've just finished a little laundry, and I am fried, and I'm trying really hard not to just seethe that you're in here reading and not helping me. And I'm just...
Why do you think, Marsha, that you're the only one doing this work? I mean, I come home too, and I'm tired, and I just want to sit down sometime and just relax for a while.
I hear you. I would like to do that too.
Okay.
But it seems to me that you're getting to sit down and relax a whole lot more than I'm getting to sit down and relax.
Well, that's your point of view. I don't see it that way.
So how do you see it?
I feel that I'm just relaxing and that you're choosing to do the work when you want to do it, but you have the right to relax too.
Well, if somebody doesn't do all of that stuff, then things are going to pile up. We're not going to have food. I mean, I can't really choose to not do these things because
so
there's an expectation that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I realize you do the cooking, and I do appreciate that. I mean,
a lot more than just that.
Okay. But I feel too that because we've had this conversation before,
I know, and
I feel like you just, we do different things that we see around the house, and I do things too, so I feel like you don't notice them.
Okay, so what am I not noticing? What are you doing that, because I know what I'm doing. I don't know what you're doing. Remind me what you're doing.
Okay, a lot of the times I'm checking things around the house, such as the boiler. Is the water in the boiler at the right level? I'm checking different parts of house things to make sure that they're working right with it, and I don't make a big deal of it. I take the rubbish out and
well, I appreciate that you're doing those things, and maybe I haven't noticed. Maybe because nothing's breaking down because you're on top of it. But I need help. I can't do the load of things that I'm doing. I'm ready to break.
What are you saying you want help with?
I guess it would be nice that occasionally, if I cooked, you cleaned up.
Okay, well, like what? What kind of things?
Like cleaned up the kitchen and did the dishes, so that after I have been on my feet all day and gone to the store and then come home and made a dinner, that I didn't have to also clean up the dishes and the kitchen. And I could sit and read an article.
So if I were to do the dishes,
it would be amazing.
You wouldn't be complaining so much?
Ouch. I'm just asking for what's fair.
So if I do that, would that be, you'd feel better about that, and I wouldn't hear this complaining?
Well, I don't know. You know, it might be a good start.
Okay. I mean, because I'm tired of that.
I'm tired of it too. I'm tired of feeling unappreciated. I'm tired of feeling unnoticed. I'm tired of just working like I'm like a servant around here. I want us to be a couple. I want a partner. I don't feel like this is a partnership.
Okay.
Let's do things together. You know, maybe I could help you with some of the things that you're talking about that you do. Maybe we could do more together. I'm worn out.
Well, what if we made a list of the things that we feel we're doing around the house, and then start to divide them up a little bit?
All right.
Would that help? I mean, I'm still having a hard time understanding all the things you're talking about. I hear your frustration, but...
Well, maybe we could trade jobs. I don't know, because then we would appreciate what the other person's doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know I can't continue like this, because I'm at the breaking point. Okay?
So if we make the list,
okay,
would that be better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you.
When do you want to start doing that?
Let's do it tomorrow over dinner.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll start with that.
We'll make a list and we'll talk about how we can share it better and how we can appreciate what we're doing.
Okay.
And we're almost out of time, Tom.
Okay. So this hasn't
resolved
it completely yet, but we're starting to talk with each other a little bit more. I'm feeling as the one part of it that I want even more listening from Marsha about my point of view on this thing, because I'm hearing a lot about how she's frustrated, but my frustration doesn't come necessarily in the same format.
And I'm able to express my frustration without attacking you.
That's right, yes. So it's coming across in a more respectful way.
You know, this is my truth. I need you to hear this. I want you to do these things.
Right.
I'm not backing down, but I'm not attacking you. And we're still in the same room and we're still talking.
Right. So this is what we talked about. It's a mini improvement. It's a start to it. I'm tolerating the discussion without walking away. We're not calling each other names. We need to do a lot more listening, a lot more empathy and understanding, but it's coming. It's a start.
So thanks for joining us on the Relationship Toolbox, and we hope that you have better luck in the future with conversations that have gone nowhere in the past.
See you next time.